ربي ومن تحت الكساء.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another episode of KisaQuiz. We're really happy to have you all, and thank you for joining us. And just to let you know, we're having a special presentation about the Holy Shrine of Imam Ali ar-Riḍā. We're continuing the celebration of his birthday with a presentation about his Holy Shrine by ʿAlī Godarzi. And we're going to have a quiz afterwards, a Kahoot quiz. So you can grab your phones and have the pin at kahoot.it. So you go to kahoot.it and put in the pin. I'm sure most of you know about that. And this time we're giving a prize to a random person, and we're going to take it based on the YouTube comments. So we're going to take names that we see people commenting, and we're going to put in a spreadsheet and do a random number generator, and that person will win a prize. So please share your input and your questions and your answers there. We'll gather it up. So please let us know what city you're watching from. So I'm always interested in finding out, are you in the US, what city, and are you in the Middle East, and wherever you are, please put in the comments. We'd like to see where you're tuning in from. And so we're ʿAlī, assalamu alaikum. Welcome. We're really happy to have you present this about the Holy Shrine and Imam Riḍā and Mashhad, and I would love to learn more about this, and I'm really excited myself. And so please tell us about yourself before we begin.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present about the architecture of the shrine with you all. Yes, so my name is ʿAlī Godarzi, in case none of you didn't know. I'm an architect researcher. My background is Iranian American, and I grew up in the US. I studied normal conventional architecture at the University of Washington, and I received my bachelor's of architecture there. But my interest has always been the art and architecture of the Persianate world, and that includes Iran, Afghanistan, Central Asia, and also we find Persianate architecture in Iraq as well. And so I have a project called Persian Architectural Archives, where I'm researching and documenting and writing about the history of this, and giving a special attention to the architecture, art, and history of Shia shrines, which to this date has been understudied, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's great. We'll put that in the description of the YouTube video so everyone can follow and learn more other than this presentation. And just from the comments real quick, we're getting comments of people tuning in from Sweden, Toronto, Virginia, Walnut Creek, Birmingham, Ontario, Toronto, New Mexico, Albuquerque, Virginia, Glendale, Arizona, London, Texas, London, Canada. Okay, thank you. So yeah, continue letting us know where you're tuning in from. And ʿAlī, go ahead and you can begin your presentation. And we are taking questions. So if you have a question, you can go ahead and put in the chat, and we can try to address as many as we can. And I see Birmingham, Philadelphia, and we have Asif from London. Welcome. Okay, so ʿAlī, Bismillah, please.
Okay,
I'm excited.
Thank you very much. All right, so today we're going to be talking about the art and architecture and the history of Imam Reza's shrine, which I'm sure many of you have been to Mashhad or seen photos of it or plan to visit it in the future, inshallah. But while many of us go there for spiritual reasons, not many people pay attention or know that much about the great architectural history of this monument. And indeed, Imam Reza's shrine has more than 1,200 years of history behind it and has attracted the best and is one of the, I would say, the most magnificent work of Persian architecture in the whole Persianate world. And so today we're going to be talking about that heritage. So in case you were not aware, Imam Reza's shrine is located in the city of Mashhad, which is one of the historic cities of Khorasan region. Today it's the second largest city of Iran with a population of 3.3 million. And it's an interesting city because of its proximity to Afghanistan, notably the city of Herat, which it shares lots of cultural and architectural similarities with. This is a photo of one of the main boulevards in Mashhad, and the photo on the bottom right is of Tehran Street, which is one of the most iconic streets as you approach the Holy Shrine. So just a little background about how Imam Reza was buried in Mashhad, in case you didn't know, because most of the other Imams are buried in Iraq or Medina. So Imam Reza originally lived in Medina, but he was forced to move to Tus by the Abbasid king Ma'mun because of his desire to control Imam Reza and prevent any Shia uprisings. So Imam Reza was brought there, and he stayed there, and that's a whole other story. But eventually he was martyred when Ma'mun had consolidated his power and wanted to move his capital city back to his ancestral Baghdad. So now we're going to be talking about the architecture of the shrine. Here on the right, we have a beautiful drawing of the shrine by Bijan Saadat, who was an Iranian architect who documented and drew the shrine according to its condition in the 1970s. So Imam Reza's shrine is the oldest and grandest of all Shia shrines. This shrine is made up of various halls, courtyards, madrasas, and mosques built throughout the past 1,200 years. It's a very unique building because of its diversity of styles, because many monuments, we see that they're just an example of one particular era. Like in particular, we can compare this to other shrines like in Iraq, which are mostly just the work of one period. But Imam Reza's shrine has attracted different architectural styles and from the past 1,200 years. And this makes it a very unique building from the perspective of an architectural researcher. So perhaps you have noticed that Imam Reza's shrine looks a bit different than other Shia shrines, especially those in Iraq. Maybe you've noticed that its dome is much taller. The courtyard is, the shrine is not in the middle of a central courtyard as is in Iraq. And this is because it's architecturally very different than them. It's much older than the shrines in Iraq, and it was mainly built during the Timurid dynasty, which the Timurids were one of the great empires that ruled over Iran and Central Asia during the 14th and 15th centuries. And here we have an old miniature drawing of Timur, who was the founder of that dynasty. And as you'll learn soon, many of the architectural monuments at Imam Riza Shrine were commissioned by him or his children and successors. So here we see three Timurid domes. Timurid domes are in general very different than the later domes, and you can mainly see this by their proportions. They're usually much taller, and they're less bulbous, less round shaped, and they usually are known to not have windows in them. But they're also structurally one of the points of perfection in Persian architecture because of their structural perfection. And because of this, many Timurid domes have lasted better and survived compared to domes built after them.
Ali Raza, were the Timurids, they were Mongol descent or Turkish descent?
They were a Turkic dynasty of Mongol descent. Okay. But they were, unlike the Mongols, which were following some shamanistic religion, the Timurids had converted to Islam and adopted Persian culture aside their own Turkic nomadic roots.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And here in comparison, you can see three Safavid style domes. These are the domes we usually see in Iraq because most shrines in Iraq were built during the Safavid dynasty when Iran had, for a brief period, captured Iraq from the Ottomans. And the Timurids never really ruled over Iraq. But here you can see there's differences, such as these domes are usually more round, and the drum of them, which is the cylindrical part before the curvature, is usually much shorter and contains windows. Meanwhile, if you look at the Timurid domes, they're much taller. So Imam Reza's dome was designed by the famous Timurid architect and prime minister and poet Ali Navawi. Ali Navawi was from modern-day Herat in the city of Afghanistan, and he was born in 1441 and passed away in 1501. He is the one who has designed this brilliant dome and the original courtyard and other parts of the shrine. In Afghanistan, in particular the city of Herat, he has many other monuments he's designed, but in Iran, Imam Reza's shrine is his most prominent work of architecture. So one of the brilliant things about Imam Reza's shrine dome is that this dome is much older than the other shrines dome, and it has survived incredibly. It has rarely needed any sort of maintenance and rarely had any sort of structural problems. This is because of Ali Navawi's brilliant design that's inside the dome, which you don't see. I have drawn these two diagrams that show in between the dome's two outer and inner shell, there's this very complex structural rib system, which in Persian is called khashkhashi stiffeners. Khashkhash is actually means opium because this system resembles the natural structure of an opium bloom. And we call this in architecture biomorphic design because it's taken inspiration from nature. Excuse me.
We have a question also by Hamid. He asked, how has the dome survived the 500 plus years?
Because this, as you see this structural system, it provides, it's a bit complicated to explain, but it provides lateral stability to the dome, which like in extreme lateral load situations, lateral load means is like extreme horizontal pressure, for example, in earthquakes. It allows it to retain its shape without cracking or collapsing.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
And in general, just the workmanship of it was far superior, it seems, than many other domes, because the Timurids always took their time with what they built. And if something wasn't built right, they would build it over and over again until it was built correctly. So one thing which many people may not know is that Imam Riza's shrine was originally covered in blue tiles, according to the original design by ʿAlī, and it probably looked very similar to this dome, which is the dome of the Madrasa Talakari, which is a famous madrasa in the city of Samarkand, which is in modern-day Uzbekistan. But it's interesting because in terms of architecture, Imam Riza's shrine is more similar to monuments in Samarkand and Bukhara and in Herat than in other cities in Iran. And we're going to be talking about how this Imam Riza's dome, the original blue tile work of it was removed in the year 1602 by the orders of the Safavid Iranian Shah, Shah Abbas, and he paid for it, the dome to be covered with gold tiles, with gold covered coppered plates, which this is significant because it was the first time gold was used on a shrine dome.
Is it so the gold was put on top of the blue?
No, the blue tiles at that time were removed and probably destroyed and replaced with gold.
And we have a question. Has the shrine ever been attacked in the past?
Yes, it's been attacked, and I haven't really included that much about that in this presentation. But for example, one incident was shortly after it was originally gilded. It was attacked by Uzbek raiders in one of the periods when Iran's dynasties were weak, and some of the gold was looted by those raiders. Mm-hmm. Of course, it was shortly again fixed. And again, one of the major attacks on it was in the year 1912 when Russians attacked the shrine due to some political reasons at the time, and the dome was punctured by 18 cannonballs.
Oh wow!
But despite all these attacks, the fact that it stood without any structural problems is testament towards its amazing architecture and construction.
MashaAllah, alhamdulillah. And someone asked, Kazim asked, how tall is the dome?
The numbers I don't have memorized with me, but it's the tallest of shrine domes.
Got it. Okay.
And so a little bit about Shah Abbas. In case you didn't know about Shah Abbas, he was one of the most important rulers in Iran. He ruled from 1588 to 1629. He was considered the greatest of the Safavid kings because of the infrastructure projects he built throughout Iran. And he was very instrumental in converting Iran from Sunnism to Shiism because, in case many of you don't know, before the 1500s, Iran was a majority Sunni country, similar to how Afghanistan and Central Asia are today. But when the Safavids conquered Iran, they had a state project because they themselves were a Shia tribe to convert the country to Shiism. And he was very instrumental in that, and funding these types of shrine architectural projects was part of that. And also because Imam Riza's shrine was the only Shia shrine in the Persian Empire at that time, the rest were in Iraq, which was not possible to visit due to wars with the Ottomans who ruled Iraq. He paid extra attention to beautify the shrine and attract pilgrims there. He's also known because he did build Imam Ali's. He did have one of his architects commission Imam Ali's shrine, which is a whole other subject.
Inshallah, one day we'll talk about that one too.
Yes, and so maybe you've noticed that Imam Riza's dome has lots of beautiful calligraphic inscriptions on it. Perhaps you thought this was Quranic verses. Well, it may surprise you that it's actually not. The calligraphy on Imam Riza's dome is actually completely about the history of the dome and the kings and rulers who spent and beautified this beautiful monument. And it's very interesting because we have inscriptions from various eras, and as you'll learn recently, not just of Shahs, but one of the most recent inscription added to the dome was by during the period of Ayatollah Khomeini after the revolution. So here in red, you may see highlighted, this is the oldest inscription on the dome. We're going to quickly go over what's said on this inscription. It's from the time the dome was originally constructed. So I'm going to read this. So this inscription says the following. Of course, this is a translation. The original text of this inscription is in Arabic. In the name of God, most merciful and compassionate, from the blessings of God the glorious, the great king, the master of Arabs and Persians, the king whose lineage is from the prophet and whom is the follower of the pure and luminous Alawite path. In case you didn't know, Alawite means Shia path. He who was the dust at the feet of the servants of this holy and luminous shrine and the promoter of his infallible ancestors, the Sultan, son of the Sultan, the victorious Shah Abbas Hosseini Musavi Safavi, the valorous king who was given good fortune and luck to walk with his bare feet from the capital Esfahan to the holiest shrine, and ornamented this dome from his own belongings in the year 1010 Hijri, which corresponds to 1602 AD, began and was completed in 1016 Hijri Qamari, which is 1606 AD. So the next inscription was added in the year 1669. This is when a strong earthquake hit Mashhad, which was one of the only times the dome was significantly damaged and needed repair. In that year, an inscription was added by one of Shah Abbas's successors, I think his third generation grandchild, who was at the time the Shah of Iran. At that time, in the place of where gold used to be, 4 beautiful calligraphic medallions were added, and they tell the story of Shah Suleiman's repairs to the shrine. And one thing you'll notice is this: Shah Suleiman wasn't as humble as Shah Abbas, so his inscription has a little more flattery to himself. These are what the 4 medallions say, which are these those like four like shapes in the middle of the dome. It says, God ornamented the sky with the luminous stars and brightened the world with their radiant light. Amongst God's grace was that the greatest Sultan, the magnificent Khagan, who in terms of lineage and blood is the greatest king on the earth, in regards to manners and morality, the noblest of kings. He is the promoter of his pure ancestors' religion and the reviver of his infallible forefathers' creation. Shah Suleiman Safavi Musavi repaired this heavenly dome, which was damaged by the earthquake, and restored damages to its structure. Now this sacred dome is glittering like a radiant sun. This work was completed in the year 1080 Qamari, 1670 AD. So the final inscription at Imam Reza's dome, which is actually interestingly the only one that's in Persian, was added in 1980. That was when, under the orders of Ayatollah Khomeini, after the success of the Islamic Revolution, the dome underwent structural repairs for the first time in hundreds of years. I don't really have information on whether these structural repairs were necessary or if it was just routine, but in any case, at that time, the original gold plates were removed and a layer of concrete and steel applied over the dome. And when the concrete and steel was added over the existing layer of the dome, the circumference of the dome became a bit longer. So there was the old inscription didn't fully fit. So they added a new inscription in the place, in the gap between the old inscription bands. And this inscription is written on a green plaque.
We have a question that's asked, how much gold was used for the dome, if you know?
The thing is, the plates used on the dome are all made of copper, and over them they have a layer of thin gold leaf. So I don't know how much, but I know that usually it's like several hundred kilograms.
Okay, thank you. And please post your questions, and we'll check them and try to address them and answer them.
For example, on Al-Askari Shrine's dome, which was recently regilded after it was destroyed in a bombing, I know that they used around 223 kilograms of gold for that.
Got it. I have to convert that in my head. How much is that, like pounds?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll look it up. Well, please continue.
So these are pictures of the works on the dome at that time. These were the original Safavid golden plates. And one thing to note is that during this repair, the original Safavid golden plates were unfortunately removed and replaced with new plates. So well, the gold on the dome now is actually from the 1980s and not the original Safavid 300-year-old plates. But the inscriptions are original and were returned back to their original places after the maintenance.
By the way, it's
So
491 pounds of gold.
yeah, so that's a lot for gold. That's a lot, and of course we have to remember that these were kings doing this work, and they had huge treasuries, so that wasn't a problem for them. So this inscription says, Hual Aziz, at the beginning of the 15th century of the Prophet's message, at the beginning of the anniversary of the victory of the great Islamic Revolution of Iran, with the leadership of the greatest leader, Imam Khomeini, regilding and repair of the dome took place. Safar of 1400 Hijri Qamari. So now that we've talked about the dome and its history, we're going to talk a little about the shrine complex. Imam Rashid's shrine has many courtyards, and I'm sure if you've been there, you've noticed it's much larger than other shrines. But it wasn't always this large. There are 3 original courtyards, which in terms of architecture and history are more significant than the newer ones. And I'm going to talk about 2 of these courtyards today. So as you see in the map, in red is the original courtyard of the shrine, which Ali Shernava'i designed. That's called Sahna Atiq, which in Persian means the old courtyard. It was built in 1471 AD. Nowadays, it's called Sahna Inqilab. It was renamed after the revolution, but in architectural circles and historians, it's still called Sahna Atiq. In blue is the courtyard of Mashhad Iran, which was built in 1394 AD. This courtyard is connected to the shrine, but it's mainly considered the courtyard of the mosque, not as much of the shrine. And there's also circled and outlined in the brown color is Sahna No, which means the new courtyard. It was built in 1847. It's the newest courtyard, and today it's called Sahna Azadi, which means freedom courtyard. So Sahna Atiq, the old courtyard. As I mentioned, this courtyard was originally designed by Ali Shernava'i in the 1400s, and it is known that at that time it was about half its size. It was expanded to its current form and current large size by Shah Abbas and his chief architect Sheikh Bahai in the early 1600s. It's also significant because its heritage is very well intact. And you can see lots of ancient, beautiful tiles there. This courtyard is known for having 4 beautiful, magnificent avans. Avans are those large arches you see, such as this one with the clock tower above it. The first is called Avan and Nakar Khana, which means the trumpet house Avan. This Avan has a little room at the top where trumpets are played twice each day, and also when a miracle is recorded at the shrine.
MashaAllah.
This is an example of the unique Qajar era tile work found on this Avan. It's of a lion eating a bull, which, as you'll see, is actually a very common motif found in Persian architecture. For example, here you can see a similar design of a lion eating a bull at the ruins of the Takht-e-Jamshid, which was the old pre-Islamic ruler's palace in the city of Shiraz. In Persianate culture, the symbol of a lion eating a bull is a symbol of Nowruz and the victory of spring over winter. In fact, one interesting thing that which differs the shrines in Iran from the shrines in Iraq is the use of more abstract designs in the tile work. You find a lot more usage of like animals or mythical creatures in the tile work of Iranian shrines versus those in Iraq.
Got it. We have a couple questions. Hamid asked, which one is the tallest A1?
They're all supposed to be roughly the same size, but I think that the Avon Tala, which we'll talk about, is the original and tallest of them. But with the clock tower, but because Avon saw it, the one we're talking about now has a clock tower, that makes it the tallest.
Okay. And we have one more question that said, ask, said, when was the recent courtyard built?
Which recent courtyard?
I think from that picture, the newest one.
Okay, Sahna was built in 1847, but architecturally it's built in the original style. So because of that, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
So here we have Avon Sa'at, which is the clock tower Avon. Of course, the clock was not original. Clock towers were historically not used in Persian architecture, and the way we think of time and is a more modern European thing. So this was the original clock tower you can see in this photo was much wider and larger, and it included a clock machinery which was from England. This clock tower was demolished and replaced with the current one in the 1950s. Here we have Avana Abbasi. This Avon was built by Shah Abbas, hence it's named Avana Abbasi. It perhaps has the most magnificent tile work in the shrine, and here's some photos of it. Unfortunately, one thing though about this Avon is that lots of its tile work was replaced in the last 30 to 50 years. So for example, here in this is an example, this is a beautiful work of tiles, but as you can see, it has a date 1390, which is about from 50 years ago in terms of the Islamic calendar. And then we have Avana Tala. This is the main Avon of the shrine, which is the original Avon designed by Ali Shernavai. Historically, this was actually called Avana Ali Shernavai, but after in the 1700s, it was gilded by Nadir Shah, who was a different Iranian king. And since then, it's called Avana Nadiri or Avana Tala, which Tala means gold. Also, if you've noticed, it has this inscription at the top, which is in some ways the most important inscription in the shrine because it's on the most iconic part of the shrine. We're going to read this one. It says, in the era of the reign of the greatest Sultan and mighty Khagan, master of the necks of mankind, lord of the kings of Persians and Arabs, Abul Ghazi Shah Sultan Mirza Baigara Bahadur Khan, may God make his kingdom everlasting. Muhammad Reza Imami wrote this in 1085 Qamari, 1674 AD. This talks about because when Ali Shernavai wrote this, designed this, it was during the era of Shah Sultan Baigara. But don't be confused by the date. That's a bit of a complex story because these tiles were redone 100 or 200 years after, but they kept the original text. Then we have Masjid Gohar Shad, which is one of the most magnificent parts of the shrine and a very historic building.
We have one question from Ali Hamdani. He asked if Sheikh Baha'i is buried there, and was he involved in any candle technology that heated the shrine? Do you know about that?
Sheikh Baha'i is buried in the shrine. There's like a story of some monument he built that was having some candle technology. That was actually a bathhouse which was powered by a single candle. I don't have much exact information on that, but it wasn't about Imam Reza's shrine. But he was involved in various parts of Imam Reza's shrine architecture, like when the old courtyard was doubled in size during Shah Abbas's reign. But his most significant works of architecture are in Esfahan and Imam Ali's shrine, which he completely designed. So Mashhad Gohar Shad was built in 1395 by the orders of Empress Gohar Shad Banu, the wife of Sultan Shahrukh. So Shahrukh was Taimur's son and successor. She's also an interesting character because she was one of the only wife of a king who had the title of empress and had lots of political power. So she lived in Herat in Afghanistan and is buried there today. But she built many great monuments and madrasas all around Iran and Afghanistan and modern-day Uzbekistan. It's said that she built Mashhad Goharshad after she herself converted to Shiism. It's a symbol of devotion to Imam Reza, and because of this, it's a very beautiful work of architecture. One thing to note is that it was heavily damaged in the Russian siege of the shrine in 1911, and once again by shelling during the Reza Shah's massacre at the shrine in 1935, and which was in response to people of Mashhad taking refuge in the shrine after Reza Shah banned the chador. So because of that, unfortunately, its structure was greatly weakened, and in the 1960s, the original dome was demolished and rebuilt. Here's a photo of the original dome, which was actually its proportions were a bit different. And here is a photo of a drawing, it seems, of Masjid Goharshad after the historic dome was demolished in the 1960s. Here you can see the interior dome, though, was kept. Here, this is one of the calligraphic inscriptions, which is particularly interesting because Goharshad's own son, Baysangor ibn Shahrukh, was the calligrapher of the mosque, and as you can see at the end of this inscription, it even mentions his own name and the year 1821 Hijri, which corresponds to 1418 AD. Here's an example of more recent restoration mosaic work at the mosque. And I include this photo as an example of two different styles of tile work. One of the reasons why Mashhad Goharshad is so valuable is because all of its tile work is mosaics, which in Persian architecture, mosaic is the older of the tile techniques and requires much more time and energy than the later technique, which is called haftarang. As you can see, haftarang is at the bottom. In haftarang, it's just square tiles which are painted, and above it's mosaic tiles, and which are like little puzzle pieces, they use hundreds of tens of thousands of them and assemble them in designs. And as you can see, even though in this photo the upper tiles are much older than the lower ones, they have aged better, and their true colors have remained, while square tiles, their colors fade over time. Here we have a view from one of the arched hallways of Masjid Goharshad. These are some of the brilliant Timurid era muqarnas of the shrine of the mosque. And here is inside the winter prayer hall. In Persian architecture, all mosques have a summer prayer hall and a winter prayer hall. The summer prayer hall is usually under the large main dome, and that's used during the warm months. And because it's exposed to the air, it's cooler. And the winter prayer hall is smaller and on the sides and fully enclosed. And this is a warmer space which is used for congregational prayers in the winter months. So now we're going to talk about the Zari of the tomb and its history. So Imam Reza's shrine has had many Zaris over the past several centuries. And by the way, in case you don't know what the word Zari means, I'm not sure what the word they use in Arabic is, but in Persian, Zari is that kind of that decorative cage around the holy tomb, and it's a very ancient form of art. The most recent Zari at Imam Reza's shrine is from the year 2001 and was designed by the famous Iranian miniature artist Mahmoud Farshian. And one thing which may surprise you is that Zaris in Iran have names, and each Zari, from the new ones to the old ones, has a name that kind of symbolizes its theme. The current Zari is named Simi no Zarin, which means jewel-like and gold-like. So this is Mahmoud Farshian. He's a very famous Iranian artist. He's 92 years old and was born in 1930. He's a master of Persian miniature painting, but he's also known for designing the zaris of several of the tombs of the Anna, including Imam Reza's zari and Imam Hussein's new zari, and he's also currently designing one for the tomb of Shah Abdulazim in Tehran. Here's a picture of Simi no Zarin. So Simi no Zarin, the production of it began in 1993 and took 7 years to complete. It was built by the master craftsmen of Esfahan, as with most zaris. Historically, most zaris were actually made in Esfahan. Or occasionally, there was some zaris made in India, such as Imam Ali's zari is from India, actually. And in modern times now, recently, zaris are also being made in Iraq, but most of the historic ones are made in Esfahan. So this zari, it weighs 12,000 pounds and includes hundreds of pounds of precious metals, mainly silver. The inside of this zari is decorated with wooden mosaic work, and it was open to pilgrims in 2001. And it actually, one interesting fact is that the tomb chamber was closed for 53 days while this zari was assembled. Here's inside the zari, which was significant because it was one of the first zaris to have ornamental work on the inside and not just the outside. And this photo shows Iran's leader and and the custodian of the shrine cleaning it, as they do every Nowruz. So before Simi no Zarin, the previous zari was called Shiro Shekar, which in Persian means milk and honey. Here is a photo of Shiro Shekar. As you can see, it roughly looks pretty similar, but the shape of the windows is different. And Shiro Shekar was built during the era of the previous government of Iran, the Pahlavi dynasty, and it was ordered by the previous Shah of Iran, Muhammad Reza Pahlavi, and built under the supervision of the shrine management. It was completed in 1959 and stood over the blessed grave of Imam Reza until it was replaced in 2001. It was also built in Esfahan by the master craftsmen Haj Muhammad Taqi Zufan and Abul Hassan Hafizian, and it was actually much lighter than the current zari because they've in recent years made zaris heavier because the number of pilgrims is increasing, so they need to be stronger, otherwise they will collapse. And it's interesting that it used less silver than the new zari, but it did have more precious gold than the current zari. This is the late Allama Hafizian working on the zari.
And it's mostly named that because of maybe the colors, or is it for another reason?
I don't know. I mean, as you know, Shiro, milk and honey is a symbol of paradise. So
Okay.
Perhaps because of its beauty and its connection to Imam Reza, they called it that. This is today. Shiro Shekar is actually you can still see Shiro Shekar. It's in the Shrine's museum, and because of its heavy use of pure silver, its colors have naturally blackened over time, as silver does as it ages. And finally, we're going to talk about Nigi Neshan, which in Persian, Nigi Neshan means jewel embellished. Here's a picture of Nigi Neshan. So most people don't know, but today the Shrine of Imam Reza actually has two zaris. Nigi Neshan is the oldest zari still used at any shrine and is the most precious zari of all. It is actually 275 years old now and has a very interesting story behind it. But unfortunately, it can't be seen today because of reasons which you will soon see. So in the year 1747, the Iranian king Nader Shah, who you can see an illustration of him on the right, was assassinated. And originally, this zari was actually made for Nader Shah's tomb, and it was placed over his grave for 10 years. But 10 years later, After his death, his grandson, Shahrukh Mirza, who succeeded him, perhaps he thought that it wasn't proper that such an opulent zari be over the grave of a king. So he relocated this this opulent zari to Imam Reza's tomb, but there with a special condition. The special condition which was included on this zari's Nigi Nishan's Waqf deed, which means its endowment document from 265 years ago, states that this zari shall remain over the tomb of Imam Reza until the end of time. This is why, historically, if you had seen the previous zari, and you would always see that Nigi Nishan was behind the current zari, because according to Islamic jurisprudence, because of the Waqf document, it was forbidden to touch or remove this zari from the shrine.
Oh, we have a couple questions real quick. So MMM2101 asks, there's some ornaments framed near the zari. What do they symbolize? And
do you mean these ones?
No, previous. I think it's one of the previous ones. Yeah, I think it's this one.
Mainly the ornamentation on these zaris is calligraphy and metalwork, which has various floral designs. Usually the metalwork has inscriptions which include poetry or Quranic verses.
Okay. And we have another question by ASG. What is the reason for replacing the zari? So is it like a contractual, they have a certain time period they have to change it by, or is the condition?
That's a very good question. I myself am kind of against the frequent replacement of zaris, because it's very beautiful to see these old zaris at tombs, but it's somewhat random. Sometimes it's replaced because the old zari is it's aged and it's damaged and not able to withstand the current pressure of pilgrims. Sometimes they just replace it because a wealthy person has funded the production of a new zari. And for example, as we see currently in the zari of Hazrat Zainab shrine is going to be replaced soon, even though the previous zari is only from the 1990s. So it's a very young zari in terms of the timeline, but just because someone had a wealthy person had paid for a new one to be made, they will replace the old one, even though it doesn't make much logical sense.
Got it. And Ali Hamdani asked, the older the jewels and the embellishments of the shrine, they all go to the museum. Is it the Astan Razavi Quds Museum?
They all supposedly all of the old artwork and ornamentation goes to the museum of the tomb.
Okay, thank you.
And one thing, so going back to the zari, so in 2001, when the new zari, Simi Nuzarin, was installed at the shrine, due to the design of the new zari, it was not possible to keep it in its historic location. So, but due to the original condition that said the zari must remain over the tomb until the end of time, this created some complications. So it was decided that an underground chamber be built around Imam Reza's grave, and this historic zari, Nigi Nishan, was relocated there.
Oh, actually, Ali Hamdani was asking about Nigi Nishan shrine. Where's the jewel embellishment of that shrine?
I'll get to that in a moment.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
So in this photo, it actually shows the moment in which they were actually lowering Nigi Nishan underground. And this is the underground of the shrine. It's the closest part next to Imam Reza's blessed body. The good thing was that this placement of the zari made it so that it was kind of better preserved, because it's not being impacted by the stress of so much pilgrims, which does age zaris. As pilgrims touch and kiss a zari, it makes the materials wear out. So this zari, which was very old and delicate, could no longer really handle such things. But the unfortunate aspect is that it's no longer able to be seen by the public. But this photo shows that underground chamber, and you can see Nigi Nishan right there. So you may be wondering why this zari is called Nigi Nishan, jewel embellished, and what makes it so precious. Here is the reason why. And take a close look and see if you can realize anything. Take a closer look. You'll notice that each knob of Nigi Nishan is studded with 4 precious rubies and 1 precious emerald. In total, Nigi Nishan is ornamented with over 2,000 precious gemstones. And this is a level of opulence that is not seen in any other zari at any shrine. Probably Nadir Shah had got many of these jewels during some of his military campaigns in which he had conquered various wealthy lands. And finally, the inscription over Nigi Nishan says this: "This zari and its knobs on its 4 sides, all studded with gems, was endowed and installed on the holy grave of Imam Riza in 1160 Hijri by the grandson of Nadir Shah Rukh Shah al-Husseini al-Musavi Bahadur Khan, a needy creature of Allah's mercy and the soil of respected pilgrims of the Holy Shrine of Imam Riza." And so that's it for now. I'm now open to any questions.
Ali Reza, I wanted to thank you very much, and we all thank you for joining us and presenting such amazing information. And everyone, I just wanted to let you know, Ali Reza is in Turkey, so it's almost Fajr time, so that makes it even harder. So he stayed awake for us and to give us such a great presentation. And once again, we're gonna have his information in the description of the video, so you can continue learning and asking him questions, about other things he's going to be posting about and teaching about. And so we're going to shortly be starting the Kahoot quiz. So is everyone excited? So grab your phones and go to kahoot.it, and we'll start shortly. And also, just to let you know, we can share a link to the presentation also, so everyone can look at some of the slides again in case you missed any of it, or you want to know some dates or information about certain details. We'll put that in the description also. And we have one more question. Any last second questions? Go ahead and please ask. And Mohsen Ali asked is, where's Harun Rashid buried?
That's a very good question. Actually, this tomb structure, the original walls of the tomb were actually for Harun's tomb, and Harun is buried in this shrine. In fact, interestingly, he's actually buried in the very middle of the tomb chamber, because the tomb chamber and the walls are from the time of before Imam Reza was martyred. So Harun is buried there, and Imam Reza was buried later after he was martyred, and because of that, Imam Reza is actually buried more to the edge of the original tomb chamber, which is a whole other interesting issue, because historically this made it so the zari was very close to the wall of the tomb chamber, and created a bottleneck situation, which in the 1970s there was some structural modifications to the tomb which made it more open. But if you had visited the shrine before the 1970s, the experience inside would be very different, because Imam Reza is buried towards the edge of the tomb chamber and not in the middle.
Got it. And if anyone wants to start follow you online, is there a website or social media channels they can follow you?
Yes, I have an Instagram page. How should I share that?
Yeah, you could just say it, and people can type it down. And we'll put it in the description of the video also. And we'll put it there too. Mustafa, if you can put it in the chat.
Sure. My Instagram name is Goudars_Ali. I'll spell it for you. GOUDARZ_ALI. You can find me on Instagram, and I post photos and work about the shrines. It's not really a personal page. It's more about my work. And if anyone has any questions, they're welcome to contact me there.
Okay. And thank you very much. And inshallah, would like to learn more from you going forward. And we're going to be starting the Kahoot quiz, so everyone be ready for that. And we're going to hopefully all of you are on, inshallah. And we're going to start that in like 1 or 2 minutes with the countdown. Okay, so, ʿAlī, thank you. You're welcome to join us for the quiz too. But I think you might know you'll win. So you can I know you might have to get ready for Fajr prayer, or you can wait and see who the winner is. But either way, thank you very much, and may Allah bless you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and thank you to all the viewers for your patience and attention.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Okay, so we have 52 participants here. We have Ali Hamdani joined us. Also, we have Najma, Zainab Ali, Arwa, Javed, Haider, Mariam, Kian Ali. So many of you. Thank you for joining. And we did a random number generator, and the winner of from all the comments is religious discourse. So, religious discourse. Please take a screenshot of your YouTube chat section, and please email us at KisaQuiz at kisakids.org. So without further ado, let's begin the quiz, and let's see how we all do. Bismillah. Okay, so remember, the faster you answer, the more points you get if you get it correct. So which is the Holy Shrine of Imam Ali al-Riḍā alayhi salam? We got 40 answers so far, so I think everyone's about done with 6 seconds left. And I hope you all like the picture format too. And the answer is the bottom right. I'm sure you saw it in the presentation. So 27 of you got it. Okay, we'll go on to the next one. We have Javed in the lead with Mona, Abbas, Abu Jassim, and Fazil leading up right behind Javed. Okay, ready for the next one? Bismillah. Who was the mother of Imam Ali al-Riḍā alayhi salam? Tuktam, Hamida Khatun, Sabika, or Masuma alayhi salam? Assalamu alayha. Okay, we have 50 just came in. 3 more seconds. And it's Tuktam. May Allah bless her. So let's see, 15 got it. So a lot of people thought it was Hamida Khatun. Interesting. So let's see if that changed the leader. So Javed is up, but Isa and Khadija came up, and so we have a few more new people. Excuse me. Okay, so this is true or false. We don't have too many of these. I'm sure you already read it by now. Sorry, I was drinking water. So are these the roofed buildings? Are they called porticos or rafahs? And it's true. Yeah, most of you got it. So let's see if that changed the position. I think. Oh, someone came up. And let's see. It's Ali Hamdani came up. Jassim, Zahra, Abu Jassim, and Sarah has a hot streak of 3 correct answers in a row. Welcome to the top 5. Okay, so next one. Which book is written by the 8th Imam, alayhi salam? Al-Kisa, Nahj al-Balagha, Kitab al-Rashad, or Sahih ar-Riḍā? I'm sure most of you have to know Nahj al-Balagha for sure. Okay, Sahih ar-Riḍā. Okay, so 43 of you got it. And let's see if that changed it. Muhammad Ali came up to the top 5, and Zahra T, I think. So we still have Ali Hamdani on the top. Okay. And we have someone in the UK. I didn't see, but they came up quick. Okay, so which of these was the 8th Imam's dissertation? Golden Medical, Treatise on Rights, the 15 Whispered Dua, or Jafri Fiqh? I'm sure you know where Jafri Fiqh came from. Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salam. Okay, so 29 of you got Golden Medical. Okay. Okay, so let's see who's in the lead. Ali Hamdani still, and then Zahra, Sarah, Muhammad, and Abu Jasim. So it's shifting within the top 5 a little bit, except the top. But okay, let's see the next one. 6 out of 14. Which person was a companion during the 8th Imam's time? Shahid Awal, Diqbal Khazai, Abdullah ibn Ansari, and Zurara ibn Ayyan. It's a clue. He recited poems. Diqbal. May Allah be pleased with him. So let's see. A lot of you got it, and Ali Hamdani and everyone stayed the same, exact same position. And Ali Asghar came up 13 places, the highest climber. And which Khalif poisoned the 8th Imam? Most of you, there was some talk of it in the discussion, in the presentation, so you can eliminate some of them. So 3 seconds. I think everyone answered. Okay. Al-Ma'mun. So 44 of you got it. I think that was the highest rated answer. Oh, okay. So Zahra went in the top, and 3 players hit a streak of 4. Ali, you'll be back up, I think. Okay, which of these scholars is not buried at the Holy Shrine? Sheikh Bahai, Alam al-Majlisi, Sheikh Hassan Ali Asfahani, and Sheikh Hur Amali. I think we mentioned one of these scholars was buried there. Alam al-Majlisi, so that's 27 of you got it right. Yeah, we mentioned Sheikh Bahai being buried there. Okay, and let's see, any changes? Just the 2 bottom. Javed came up in 4th, Abu Jasim in 5th. Okay. Inshallah, next one, I think we're on number 8. Oh, now we're on 9. Okay. Whose grave at the shrine is shown below? Definitely got the clue earlier. That's Sheikh Bahai, 45 of you. Okay, great. Let's see any changes. 6 players have answer streak of 3. So we have Zahra and Sarah, and then Muhammad, Javed, Abu Jasim. Okay, 10. Number 10. When did the Astan Razavi Quds Museum open? Okay, so there's different dates. Let's see. This is a little different, so it's an interesting one. Oh, 1945, only 7 got it, but let's see if that changes anything. Oh, it's just Sarah and Zahra flipped, and same 5 though. Okay, 5 players lost their streak of 3. Sorry about that. At least we learn. Alhamdulillah. Which of these is not a courtyard in the Holy Shrine of Imam Ali al-Riḍā alayhi salam? Which is not? The clue is it's this one would be in Najaf or Kufa. Yeah, 25 got it. Yeah, so if you've ever been to Najaf and Kufa, you see that's Masjid Kufa. Oh, exact same 5. And Mariam came up 11 places as the highest climber. Congrats. Okay, Masjid Gohar Shah was built by the order of, all of you should get this if you were in the presentation. Okay, 3 seconds. I think 54 answer. Okay, Empress Gohar Shah. Yeah, so 39 of you got it. She was the one that ordered it. And it represented her devotion to Imam Ali al-Riḍā alayhi salam. And Yusuf came up 6 places as the highest climber. And the top 5 haven't changed. Okay, next one. We're on number 13. 2 more left. Which is of these is the former name of Mashhad? Tus, Nishabur, Merv, Khorasan. Some of them are province, so it's Mashhad is a city or town. So that's the slight difference. Answer is Tus. 25 of you got it. So Khorasan was the one that got a lot of people. So it's yeah, the province is different than the Tus, the city. So Sarah has highest answer streak of 13. Wow. And we have Mona Zar is up here now. Welcome to the top 5. And Javed is number 2 now. Okay. Bismillah. Next one. Last one. Which of these did Khalif al-Ma'mun not do in order to gain favor with the Shia? Appoint Imam Ali al-Riḍā as his successor, give his daughter in marriage to Imam Ali al-Riḍā, marry a family member of Imam Ali al-Riḍā, or change the color of the uniforms and flags from black to green. Okay, a few more people. It was marry a family member of Imam Riḍā alayhi salam, and I think I forgot to unbold his name, so maybe that was a little clue in there. So 24 of you got it. So let's see the final result of the podium. So number 3, we have Muhammad Ali. Number 2, Sarah, sister Sarah, and number 1. Let's see. Javed Molu, you squeezed in at the last second. And runner-ups are Monazar and Zahra T. So congratulations to all of you, and I hope you all enjoyed and you learned. And the top 3, Javed, Sarah, and Muhammad, please screenshot your screen and send. Please send the screenshot to KisaQuiz at kisakids.org. And we're really glad and happy you all made it, and inshallah you all benefited a little bit from today. And please share this presentation video on YouTube to your friends and family, and they can learn some also. And please check out Ali Reza's information so we can all learn a little bit more going forward. And we'd like to thank all the people that were involved, and please make a dua for the marhumin who helped support the show, and the Mustafa's sister Khadija, sister Sabika, and Ali Reza and Sister Samana, thank you all for helping, and Sheikh Mudaris too, and some others ones too I forgot to mention. And don't forget about the Iran Ziyara book. It's on kisakids.org. So it's an amazing book. It has everything you need, and it's color print, and it's a really nice book. I have it in the other room. I should have had it with me, but please go to kisakids.org and please help support all our projects and the KisaKids books. Please make a purchase and enjoy the book on your trip, inshallah, to Mashhad. And take care, everyone. Assalamu alaikum.